Is it on? Is this shit on, mate? I don't got my chain on. This is terrible. It's so disrespectful by me. But here I am. I'm sorry I just got off work. Sorta, kinda. But I'm off work. I have done nothing. I am nothing.
For example, there's still only a 97% chance that they'll get there, right? Like there's I think if it hadn't have been a game win taken by KT, it would have been a different story as far as the 2-1. So heading into their final match of round one, and T1 did this last time, this same dance. The lose to HLE and then have a rough series against Nongshim to come out of the first round robin. And we'll see whether the same thing is going to repeat itself here today, or whether T1 can tidy things up a little bit quicker, because Busan is looming.
What is that? Okay, let's go. Let's go T1. Let's go T. War. 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 War.
Which is interesting because the first Gen G against T1 series was actually really close, right? When you go back to the start of the split. The last one really wasn't. Neither was the Hanwha one. As Lance literally just gave up his day of break. I'll go anywhere as long as I was doing. Lance is such a classic Sundre because it was also calling out Calyx for Calyx. You shouldn't or say nice things about it. This is ruining my reputation. How dare you?
And then he comes out and says this, and we can all see it.
No, you're
not
nice
fooling anyone.
Well, and you might be pretending, to make fun of all your teammates. You might be haunting Keen whenever you meet him in solo queue. But we all know you're a nice guy. And we see it right here. Now, they did lose, but, it's challengers. It's a lot harder. We've been over this.
Exactly. This is still going to be the challengers' power-up, as let's welcome the teams to Lolpop on
Let's
this
see.
beautiful Friday. See how these fist bumps are going to go between these two squads. Expecting a lot of things out of T1 in this one.
Let me tell you what I'm not expecting. I'm not expecting me to keep myself on camera the whole goddamn because y'all not here to see me. You here to see the game, probably. All right. Well, I'll just get out the middle. But they never do it right anyway, so we'll just go. I'll go ahead and be over here right now.
I didn't predict DRX though.
Yeah, that's
because that was, I think, just what it. I'm pretty sure he's tied with me.
We'll see. We'll see. We will definitely see, Magoo. Oh, I'm feeling all over the mic. It's getting hot. It's getting hot in here.
See how it does go as Oner getting his jacket into his special position. And let's see whether his performance is going to be better. As you can see here,
Owner looks like some kind of fucking mafia boss or something. He looks like a Yakuza hitter. Is that Korean? That's Japanese. And it's a triad. It's Chinese. I don't know what the Korean gangs are called. He looks like some cool dude in the triad though.
Because I think the laning phase of particularly Faker has really struggled. I think we saw that in the drops reflected as well. For Hanwha, the fact that they're B1ing Victor is, I think, a very clear sign of Faker's laning right now not being quite where it needs to be. And Oner, more so than Kenyon, basically doesn't have to.
I'm trying to keep it from echoing too bad.
But it benefits both, right? Because you have, on one end, he wants to farm. His laners are really good. And then Peanut is the complete opposite, where Peanut is obviously always going to be looking. And Oner kind of needs to walk that line. Has walked that line, I think, against any team that isn't Gen G and Hanwha. But in games where T1 struggles, I think we really see the difference in how much impact he can make. But Gideon has really fallen off. In the beginning of the split, we were talking about Gideon as potentially contesting for like a top 3 jungle. Recently, we haven't quite seen that from, I think, Calyx.
All right, I want to go to this. I'm
coming in, looking really
not changing. I'm gonna watch this.
For Calyx, obviously, he's still very early in his career, so we're not too worried. But I do think
I do want to blind myself for a little bit because I want to be doing things that I don't want to have on stream. I'm trying to have Riot look at this and say, hey, maybe we need an adult stream. But I don't want to have that on here.
Of regular season, this is about the time when Kingen starts to power up. We are also still in Korea, and Lahans is pretty good on his home turf when it matters most. So we're going to see whether we can put some of that to the test, as Nongshim still going to be guaranteed a a road to MSI spot, right? That's top 6. Legend and Rise Group, very different story because we're splitting the teams 5 and 5. So that top 5 position becomes a whole lot more important. You will still get into the first round of Road to MSI no matter what for Nongshim, but still
Aww.
getting a bit of a bye would
So
be much
cute.
better. Yeah.
Lands with.
Oh, so we still good.
and then,
Oh, it's over with.
Leona and Nautilus. I'm glad they put Lulu in there as well.
On June 6th, the deadliest warriors will become the greatest prey.
What happens if we survive?
Predator, killer of killers. Rated R. Streaming June 6th, only on Hulu.
No.
You know?
I mean,
That is
No, never shall that happen.
Okay, so the lands one, obviously, the Q is amazing, but I want you to look at that G.
I was honestly too distracted. I didn't even
The
see
signs
G1.
be super
Sorry.
dope. Signs always super
It was a
dope.
tiny mountain head.
Sliding on his knees. It was so cute.
Just the movement that threw you off.
All right, we're gonna go from that cuteness to very dramatic draft music now, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. It is time to ban away champions and then pick them immediately afterwards.
Yes.
Callista going to be hitting the deck here as the Vi is going to be taken away from Gideon. And I think this is a really great, like you brought it up before, Gideon having a bit of a fall off. And I think that the meta has been changing, but I think it's changing towards Gideon
I don't know,
rather
we
than
gonna
away
see.
from him.
Hope
His
this
tank
work.
play
I don't
was
want a
what
lot of
really
echo.
impressed us earlier in the season. And more things are starting to crop up in the jungle,
I'ma shut up till I
especially
got
with a
something
lot
to
of
say.
these
Mute
bans that
me
are
till I
coming
got
through.
something to
Talia
say.
and
Do
the
that.
Callista both taken away here as the Azir is banned by T1. Calyx has been gravitating towards the Pigeon quite a lot, and with the Talia ban, it is something that they do not want to give away.
What will be the prio pick here? As mentioned, T1 is heavily prioritized the Victor for Faker, so maybe Nongshim want to try and pick that away, but no, just going to ban it. As there we do see champion taken off the board. Faker really struggling against, I think, both Zaka and Chovy when it comes to his laning impact. Against Calyx, the
I'm
best
not
moments
really
we've seen
good
from him
with-
were in
with
the team
the,
fight, so I do think there's a lot more leeway.
Yeah,
with
once
the,
you pick in lane,
with
it's
the
not,
bands
we're not
and shit.
talking
I'm
about
not. That's
Calyx
not
as
my
the
thing.
super
I mean,
dominant
I know what
laner.
I kind
It's
of.
really
I
more
watch
about
different
mid-game plays
reasons.
and
so.
skirmishes.
All right,
Xin
let's
Zhao
try
is
to
one
get
that
it.
to me
Rumble?
makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's like Rumble, Xin Zhao,
I wrote the Rumble in
already, yeah. I think it makes sense. Rumble is still insanely strong.
Yeah,
I do
Rumble.
think that we have some
What
tools
do you-
that have looked pretty
Do you
decent
take
against him,
like
but
Renekton
it really doesn't
into it?
matter
What do you do?
even if you do well against him in lane
Here,
because the
Yorick,
impact of the
what do you do?
equalizers is always going to remain quite large now. This has become a more and more popular answer into the Rumble. You're just kind of
What?
going to ignore
Or-
the early damage, and once you finish Koenig,
I like the.
you're really not
I
in
like,
any issue
I like
or
the
any
Pantheon.
trouble. As
And
we
it's
are,
Doran.
yeah, we are finally seeing.
Oh.
'Cause remember-
Sejuani?
Yeah, for sure. This is
Okay.
like a complete no-brainer, right? For Nongshim, this is literally, I'd argue, one of the strongest top sides that you can get. Double melee with
Feels
Sejuani.
fake,
though.
You get the
Oh, yeah.
Rumble, you get the Yone combo as well, which is
Let's
insane.
see.
So.
Is Nongshim
No-brainer for Nongshim. But I
spoil it
really
for
want to own
us?
in on this Pantheon because for a good amount of time after this patch dropped, where Xin Zhao was nerfed,
Okay.
okay. Well, I was about to say we're gonna see how the Pantheon can do. I love
Faker
the Akali. I love
Akali.
the confidence. I don't think so far
I
this is
think
that
my
crazy of
wiener
an
just
Akali
got
angle.
hard.
I think
Faker
Ornn
Akali,
does really
what
like
is
to
he
play
doing?
with
He's
carries
trying
that
to,
can
he's
provide a lot
trying
of
to be a,
consistent
he's
damage,
trying
right?
to pimp
Where
up
you
on.
really look
He's
for the
trying
team
to
fights as opposed to
step
more
up
side
on
lane
him.
and
He
impact
pimping
and
up on
backline dive.
these dudes.
And I think playing Akali when there is a lot of CC on the enemy team and there's a lot of AoE damage is always a little scary. Now, the 2v2 is obviously quite strong. We have a lot of mobility and a lot of power to execute targets at a moment's notice.
We will be
But
skipping through a lot of
As
the
a three-man unit,
between
Ornn,
game
Pantheon, Akali
banter.
does not sound
I keep it-
nearly
I
as
keep it
It
above.
doesn't
promising.
feel very
Been at
cohesive.
work.
That is very
I just want to see
true.
the
Well,
game.
also, again, compared to what is on the opposite
That
end.
Yeah,
long
no,
day.
you've got like the perfect best friends club.
I mean, this
staring
is
down
what
a
it
bunch
is.
of
I
people
can't
that
help
have met
myself. How
before
can
is
I come
basically
home and
how
play
I'm
League
seeing
and I
it
have
right now.
not
Nautilus
watched
going to be
it
taken away
first?
alongside the Elise. Some pretty obvious
Exactly.
hands bans there. As the Nico is going to be taken away. Renata and Nico, both of them
me
removed from
shut
Carrier
up.
here. As I think it's such a shame that Ona locked in the Pantheon so early. Because Gideon loves playing tanks, right? He loves Poppy, he loves Sejuani.
Trundle would have been so good. And now, there's even a possible support Trundle angle. Could you imagine that? Subjugating the Ornn as he comes in? Oh, baby.
Kind of love that.
I'd be so keen. I don't know whether it'd happen.
Lahens would.
He might. If he doesn't just Shen instead. We'll see. There's plenty of weird stuff that he could go towards.
Or
and
just
this would be weird.
Cyracon.
Yeah. Or he could play Zeri because it's due, and he loves playing.
Oh my God,
Zeri.
Zeri Lulu into Alistair.
Well, that'd be pretty clean.
Few considerations here. So the Zeri Lulu, I think lane-wise, is a lot stronger, right? You really get to bully, really, regardless of what Guma ends up locking in. The benefit of this is that the Xayah will have a lot more agency into the Akali, and you are also able to deal with the Ornn a little bit better, which I do think is nice. And Zyrocon is obviously still a strong combo. As carrier, or Guma, I want to say it's probably going to be the Jhin with the type of setup that they have here. And looking at these two compositions,
I think that it is extremely one-sided.
Yeah, well, when it comes to power, when it comes to cohesiveness, you go to Nongshim, right? Like the top side is insane. You have great engage. You have good kiteback potential as well. For me, the main issue with T1 is that the comp feels a little bit disjointed. That core of the Pantheon and Akali, I think they go well together. They're decent with the Alistar as well. But then the Ornn makes sense in the matchup. I think the Ornn also will always provide a lot of utility.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on
Like
here.
about
So
Jhin and Ornn is that you can kind of fish, right? And you can
I'm
play
not
out
sure
slower.
about that.
You
I don't know.
really
The
are gonna
bottom
have to
lanes
take
is
your
what
moments
throws
with
me
the
off.
Akali.
Everything
Because you
else I
don't
like
control
on
lane, so you
T1, but I
pull your
don't know
triggers
about the
and
bottom
engage,
lane
but you
situation.
don't have like a Chaos
We'll
Storm
see.
or
We'll
you
see.
see
Let's see what
hammering
happens.
away at the health bars. I think you can get into some issues later on. Now, a side laner with Pantheon is always going to feel nice, and T1, I do think, are, when it comes to gameplay, looking a lot better right now.
I would agree, and I think that nameplates are going to have to come into this one in a big way, because we know Doran, fantastic tank player in general. His eye for teamfights has been fantastic. Owner is on a carry, someone that can affect the game very early on. That is exactly his bread and butter. And you and I casted a pretty good Akali Faker game, the World Championship, and I believe he won that one. In fact, he's won a few of them since losing to Kingen. And I think that, you know, after the double revenge worlds has been owned, I think he's going to be able to do it again here. Let's jump into the Rift, game number 1.
Starting at $399.99. Some say you can't have it all. Clearly, they've never been here. Here, every world, every story.
시간사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Let's see how many commercials I get. I might have to minimize it or go to a different view, because when you got it maximized like this, you get a lot of commercials. We'll see. Let's see what happens.
Because I think these players are really good, and this draft edge is absurd.
My God.
Okay, they just walk past one another. That's a bit cute.
Yeah, so Lands, I think, tried to sneak it.
Oh no, he's been baited. Will get knocked up, has to flash. Double flashes to follow Permafrost. There's first blood going over to Jiu. And I hadn't factored that in when I said that I thought the draft looked good.
I'm a bit confused as to why this happened.
It's called Lahen's Voodoo.
Hence mind control.
Yeah,
The classic.
absolutely. We have seen this many a time before.
It's like, oh no, I'm caught. No.
Oh, I'm out of position again, guys. And oftentimes, this is why it's so genius. Oftentimes, he is straight up just caught. But then there's those couple of times that can really ruin the game for you.
Well, that's a rough start for T1. Kill going over to the Xayah. Gonna start with a very early dagger. And be feeling very good about that one. If you are GU, I don't know what the experience situation is. Doesn't look very good for them right now, but obviously they would have to give up full control of the wave, so we'll see how that stands when the crash actually comes through. It's also not the end of the world. Early kill was nice, but not going to be game deciding. But I'm just wondering what the communication was, because their read must be that no one else was there. Because the level 1 obviously is never going to be favored for them, right? Because you're playing into Sejuani with a good amount of melees on the top side, and that's just not really something that you can realistically deal with. As we do see now level 2 hit here, as they have not think they missed, like, based on the experience, like maybe 1 minion.
Yeah, they did. And Lehens actually, even without, you know, the support item, picked up a couple of them that he knew that G wasn't going to be able to get. So good guy Lehens making sure that he gets the money at least. Goes to someone. Kinging up here, getting pushed in by the Ornn, who's feeling fantastic. We expected this to be the case, given how not only good Doran is on the champion, but the matchup being pretty good into the Ornn. As now G going a bit aggressive here. Another grand entrance comes down as Gumayusi in a bit of trouble. 250 health as he walks away. But the Lovers duo certainly working out so far for Nongshim down in this bottom lane.
So hard to try and lane when the early stats can make such a big difference, right? Just having that extra attack speed available, being able to put those feathers down just a little bit faster, definitely powerful. As Inigo again.
Yeah, here's another one. Bladecaller is going to root carrier for a few moments, but Gio was lit on fire, doesn't want to go too aggressive. They do get double summoners out of the bottom lane in exchange for 2 on the side of T1 as well.
Early fights really can go either way, particularly pre-6. I do think that Nongshim have the advantage once Faker's ultimate becomes available. Akali gains a ton of playmaking potential. This look like with the top side prio that was there for Doran, as well as the bot side prio that is double scuttle here for Owner on the Pantheon. As we take a look, I think that of these, really the one you're looking at are going to be Lucid and Owner. Outside of that,
yeah,
a lot of those players have obviously been struggling, even outside of their champions.
Yep, and oftentimes it wasn't necessarily the Pantheon's fault, although there have been some grand starfalls that have gone in odd directions. You know, some interesting execution of those particular ultimates.
Yeah, the timing on those can really throw you off. You can like, okay, I'm reading this fight.
Like it
I
looks
know what's
good
happening
here, and then you give it a few seconds, and then it doesn't.
Yeah, but you've
anymore.
pressed the button, and you basically within a second are like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where even looking a few seconds into the future is hard.
Yeah.
It's like, you're talking about like what, like 4 seconds?
And also you have to make the play extraordinarily quickly to capitalize as effectively as possible.
Of course. But it's just, even those couple of seconds in League, situations can change completely depending on cooldowns, depending on damage that gets done. We have the lane swaps come through early on here for a possible grub setup. Do continue to see the prio from Guma and Keria. And we don't really expect this early kill to change the lane, and I think Guma and Keria have been doing a really good job of making sure that that gold lead kind of shrinks again.
Yep. Oh, here's the on-horn. Everyone's flashing in, and Owner just going to put a stick into the little yodel. Takes down the Rumble here. I would have said first blood, but it wasn't. That one had happened already. But still, first real kill after the laning phase started. As in goes Lehens, and out goes Lehens.
The Slayer.
Big win. That is Doran getting further ahead. He's now a level up on Kingen, by the way. Like, that was a really... And this entire wave is, I think, going to be missed. This was a really big gank, because it further accelerates Owner, and Owner, we have established, needs to be in a good spot for, I think, T1 to do well. Kind of goes both ways. If he's playing poorly, I think T1 suffers disproportionately, and, you know, being a jungler on a team that isn't having the best of form also kind of ties into that. But if he does accelerate, generally, he looks very, very good. The lane pressure comes through now, and it's Doran doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, right? When you look at the health bar of Kingen going into that play, he was basically just served up to this Pantheon on a silver platter.
Yeah, Kingen really not having a great time so far in this game. This is a champion that he has found a lot of success on, and we'll just have to see whether some of these team fights can turn things around for the Rumble. Because as the game goes on, the Ornn just gets better and better. You know, being able to give like 5,000 gold worth of stats to your team sounds pretty good.
Having the best non-committal hearties or hard engage in the game.
Doesn't sound too bad.
It's not bad. It's nice. It's good stuff.
Well, Nongshim, this is not the power spike yet, right? They want to hit that mid-game. They want to be able to get these skirmishes started around the Sejuani and around this Yone, who is also not having the greatest time. Like, Faker's laning on this Akali has been fantastic so far. You can see 250 gold is going to be his advantage at this point in time. He's got his Hex Tech cookie completed, and things looking pretty bright for T1 so far, but it's also only a 400 gold lead team-wide, so it's not really meaning too much. As Gideon going to be moving over towards Calyx, seeing whether they can find a little bit of an angle, or whether maybe there's going to be a dragon looked at for that bottom side of the map, or bottom side of the jungle, sorry, is going to be taken here by Gideon.
Looks like a shove there to ensure Calyx can get it back in. Going to be having a decent amount of gold here, only sitting on a Vamp Scepter for now, so we'll see. The one-item spike for Nongshim is obviously amazing. And when it comes to Owner, Faker, and Guma, it's kind of similar, right? Like, that is one of the interesting things when evaluating these compositions.
-1, by the way.
Oh. That's fine.
Yeah, Doran was doing so well, and now he's behind.
Relative to cannons.
The amount of cannons, exactly.
Which
very
some would argue is the most important stat in League of Legends. Oh, that's
right,
W
yep.
used.
Yeah, Gideon looking for the angle here, and he should be able to find it. There's the permafrost, there's the ulti, and holding people in place is something that Sejuani is pretty good at. No flash available. The equalizer was probably unnecessary, but it looked very, very cool. And so that is going to be the return kill, some revenge here for Kingen.
I think the read there from Nongshim was that if we don't use the equalizer, Kingen can TP. Oh my god!
Flashing for it. They find the knockup on a carrier as well. As he cleanses, he's just ignoring Ona, who will be able to protect his cow. And there's the Deadly Flourish to stop the Hens from going any further forward. That is 3 summoner spells, though, invested by Nongshim just to push them away. And so maybe Nongshim coming off a little worse for wear.
Definitely not worth, but it does echo what Lahan said about playing with Fido and Geo respectively. And I quote, Fido's a bit more stable, Geo is a lot more aggressive. And I think we saw that right there. You know, he's got the dog in him, he's looking for the play. Was this a good play? No, because as mentioned, Alistar flashed, which he doesn't really care about too much. Whereas there were, particularly the Xayah Flash, I think, is the biggest deal, right? Like, Xayah Flash is a really important summoner on any AD carry, but particularly on her, because even with her ult, you can buy safety, but you can't buy space. So not being able to displace yourself is definitely a big sacrifice to be made. But yeah, so going back to that bot side play.
Owner can't. Oh, he can flash, so because he didn't have to use it last time. As over the wall goes Calyx. I'm not sure about this one because he's now getting closed in on. There's the Ram, but he flashes away. Now Faker looking for an angle onto Gideon, who has to flash. As there's the Grand Starfall, everyone piling in as we have zoomed out so far. I didn't even know this was possible. It's absolutely insane. Down goes the jungler. Calyx now in trouble, but he's able to dash his way out. And it is just 1 kill, but man, that zoom was amazing.
Truly, technology in League of Legends.
That was the greatest zoom of all time.
Hyper. Never ever heard you say stuff like that.
It was really
It was a really long zoom.
It was like we had 2 full.
So I was mostly looking to the top part of the zoom, which was unfortunately for Calyx, as you highlighted, not the cleanest play. Ended up going down, or not going down, but ended up dragging his jungler, and then Guma was able to get the kill. What I really want to highlight on there is one of the biggest advantages T1 have had, and this goes back to ever since the core of this team has come together, is their willingness and ability to go for these mid-game skirmishes and play them out really nicely. So Calyx
missing every button was a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Maybe they felt there was a timer on the flash that Owner didn't have it available. I don't know. And then here we have Gideon, unfortunately, yeah, never gonna get out of that. Like, does a decent job of sidestepping, but there's just way too much damage.
In the meantime, Nongshim get themselves the first dragons. So there's at least that.
But right there we see the value of how much long range T1 have when it comes to catching people, right? Because Akali obviously needs to be in melee form, as does Owner. But you have on one give the Ornhorn being used. as there is an equalizer.
Yeah, these harpoons are really connecting now for King, and actually some fancy footwork by the Rumble. So winning out on that particular trade and has moved into a gold advantage.
Alex.
Off the back end of that play is, yeah, Calyx is going to try and unbind the soul as best he can. Great knockup as the ulti comes through as well. Calyx actually managing to do pretty well in the fight, but still, Faker with the perfect execution is going to be able to take him down, and Gideon not able to offer enough support. So the woes for this mid laner continue.
The side laning of T1 is a little bit better. It's the Bash Bros owner and Keria running around the map, is blowing people up.
Yeah.
Now we're in a situation where Faker has a extremely substantial side lane lead. Gio, he's here in mid, pushing away, but even with Doran, you know, taking a bit of a beating there in the top lane, hasn't given up a single play thus far. Take another look here, so they know this is coming. Calyx is able to dodge the E, which keeps him alive for a little longer. But the ult from Gideon goes wide. He maybe can CC owner. I think there's a world where...
Allegra is the allergy relief with 0% brain interference, so you can use it even when you're driving. It's a no-brainer.
Hey, I hear somebody in there. Open up.
You're scaring them.
I'm not scary.
The Yone actually lives, right? There is so much sustain in the kit. Not going to be the case. Also think the angle there was a little bit rough, right? Like if it was 2 seconds earlier, you could probably turn around that play. Not going to be the case though. And T1, the squad lead slowly extending. And yeah, as I was highlighting, even though a lot of the characters are melee, you do have a lot of effective range as Doran.
Doran, I don't know. Okay, it's going to be a 2v2. They get the knocker. Bouncy castle here for Kingen, but the equalizer was doing so much work. The flash comes down, and Calyx just picks up the kill, and somehow Kingen limps away.
Jokes about Ornn aside, the damage isn't quite there. I guess he's only been training the tank part, not the mage and warlock.
They did nerf the mage, warlock, assassin, fighter, warrior.
Yeah, they have. They really have
those
many times. So I don't want to put this on Doran. I think it's more of a champion issue. He only has Kanik Rukran, right? But what we did see there is that thanks to the timely arrival of Calyx, good TP there, ends up turning the fight around. That is a big shutdown going over.
The world's shortest teleport here by Kingen, as he just wanted to try and put the pressure onto Faker. I'm not entirely sure. I was a bit perplexed by that one, but that is still absolutely fine. Calyx going to be going back to his soul, and I think one thing that you alluded to just before is the lack of damage. We're talking about, you know, Pantheon and the Ornn here. If Faker isn't able to just have some of the best Akali teamfights that we've ever seen, the lack of damage is going to be a real problem here for this composition as they get later into the game. So T1, unless they start that snowball rolling, Gumayusi gets way too big to handle. It's going to become more and more of a problem.
So one of the things that T1 can do, and that's why I think they're going to play towards if these mid-game skirmishes start to go kind of awry, is just play for side. Because your ability to collapse on side, I think, is way better.
Yeah.
In a front-to-back team fight, even with Ornn, which sounds kind of weird, but I do think you're going to struggle because you're playing into Rakan, you're playing into Xayah, you're playing into Sejuani and Rumble, right? There's so much team fighting power there. But Akali, I don't think will be matched by anyone inside. Like, neither Calyx nor Kingen should be able to deal with him. And then you can very easily support with either the Jhin ult, with Pantheon ulting in, or even Doran can slow down, try and look for an engage as well. Nongshim, though, I think, as they should, continuously playing aggressive, continuously looking, and this first game dead even. And I want to remind everyone of the stakes. This game is a big deal. Atlas and I haven't gone off topic in 15 minutes.
Yeah, we've been seriously talking about this game. It's kind of crazy.
That says it all. I can't remember.
Is the zoom out still? That's still on topic.
No, that's very actually that's more on topic than anything we've arguably ever said, because that was the coolest zoom ever.
It was the coolest zoom ever. No one's ever spoken about a zoom like that ever before. It's past. And Calyx was going to try and do some damage here to Doran.
Gotta be careful. Now I'm like, okay, let's have a topic about observing, and then before you know it, we're talking about movies, Atlas. And I want to stay locked in.
Yeah, we need
game
to.
Because it matters a lot. Even a single game win, again, can be the difference maker for Nongshim.
Yep, means everything for Nongshim, ladies and gentlemen.
And
this
DK,
is the biggest part. And DK and KT. But like, as far as the teams that are in this game, certainly means a whole lot more for Nongshim as the equalizer goes down. Doesn't manage to get the cannon, I'm pretty sure. That was a bit sad. Finished off by the turret.
T1 is kind of just playing for vibes.
They are kind of playing, but the vibes are really important because after this match, they head off to Road to MSI looking to win a best of 5 against maybe even this team.
Could happen.
And so picking up a victory here, going to be a big deal. Of course, starting off on the red side, a little bit rough here for T1. They have benefited a lot from the first pick ability. And Nongshim being able to utilize that one here.
Oh, there's the collapse.
That's a big old knock-up as Keria is coming in. They're looking for an angle, and they want to get both of them. There is the ulti to come out. The ult comes through as well from Calix, who looks to unbind the soul, and he's just dead. Last hit by the Shuriken. That is deadly. And now the Rift Herald is just going to pop down for fun and not do a whole lot.
Yeah, so Gideon tried to take the... He missed the bus. He tried to take the Rift Herald exit.
Yeah.
You know, just summon it. If he did it earlier, he actually would have got.
He might have been able to get the mid.
No,
turret.
he would have. Like he could have left easily. Actually, in hindsight, I think he realized it too late. But because the moment the TP comes in, right, like they're really far overextended. The fact that Gideon gets caught there on the Krugs is the biggest thing. I think T1 was just happy to only pick up Calix instead they got a 2-for-0 combo deal.
Yeah,
but
it was actually a really good heads-up play to not go all in on just getting the kill onto Gideon. They're like, wait a second, nah, we get both. Because Keria, he could have opted into it, right? But instead, he's like, no, let's just wait. I'm going to go wrap around. We're going to kill both of these guys.
Yeah, they were, I think, only expecting to get Calix. And Calix, I think, would have died anyway. Was going too aggressive for this turret. If Gideon goes for that earlier, he actually makes it, by the way. Like, he can get out.
Yeah.
But instead, the CC chain is obviously there. Nicely done by T1, not to let that Sejuani exit the premises. And instead, more kills going over, but the gold lead remains.
Up for an adventure?
Always.
Suspiciously close, as Ocean, for both of these teams, is so annoying to play into because there are a lot of beefy characters. I guess neither of them is playing poke, so at least that helps. I swear I've seen teams. I can think of at least 2 separate instances where DK picked a poke comp, and then that's playing to Ocean Soul and just I'm pretty sure it happened to T1 at some point as well. They're one of the other teams that really like those poke style comps.
Whoa, there's a flash over the grand entrance. Headbutt is going to go towards Faker, because now Jiu getting stunned up and has to go into that Featherstorm pretty early on. Permafrost goes down. Jiu's trying to kite as best he can. It's the perfect execution, max range from Faker is going to lock down the kill. He does die, but Calix is also now in trouble as he does have to snap back. That is still Gideon picking up the kill there as he in fantastic position. And Lahenz is just dancing around this fight like a ballerina. And the harpoon just one-shots the Jhin. Is Rumble a better AD carry than Jhin? What the heck was that, Kagan? As that's an ace for Nongshim. That's a 5-for-1.
It's ridiculous.
Okay. I saw the start of that fight. I saw Faker go in.
This is ridiculous.
AD carry.
Okay.
And then it was all Nongshim.
I was ready to kind of criticize Jiu, as this is a classic T1 play. They go in on the river, see the AD carry. Jiu holds on to his ult and his sums for so long here, and at first it kind of looks like a mistake, but as it turns out, it ends up baiting Faker in. Faker goes extremely deep, ends up going down, and then how do they stay alive for so long? Look at this escape from Alex.
It's only Guma.
Yeah, because Faker blew, and again, not just Faker, but they blew so much, killing Jiu. And guess what? You killed Jiu. But unlike T1, there are free carries on this team. And Rumble is just cooking the what?
Well, they're cooking steak, I guess. That's what they're having today. As now Owner is also in a whole lot of trouble. Faker dancing around this fight, though. He's got that perfect execution. Great knock-up to come through from Doran. As now Gideon will get taken down. Faker able to get out this time as the curtains have been called. But it's curtains for Doran before too long. And now an equalizer going to block off both Owner and Faker. And otherwise not do anything at all. So Gideon does go down. 2-for-1 trade at the minute as that Shuriken backflip kind of gorgeous there for Faker. Not going to go too far in. Man, I've seen Lee Sins make that play.
Oh, you know he wanted to. That finger was hovering, Atlas.
Oh, yeah.
This game is turning very quickly into main. Guma positioned his ult a little bit better there and hit his first shot.
That could have been a full wipe for Nongshim. That was dangerously close to T1 fully turning it around. Not quite gonna happen. And I gotta say, the lane positioning of Calyx in his early laning phase were not the best, but the man is doing his job in these team fights.
Oh yeah, he's
You are
he's certainly
disgusting. I
locking
hate
in
hearing you
now.
You know
fart.
what that is?
You
Shaking
poop,
the
it
silly
is so nasty when you poop, Jake.
Absolutely.
As Nongshim, blue trick. Look, these ults are not available for T1.
Oh, what do you
I don't
eat?
think he can test this.
Doran does have his. You can see Gumayushi still a long way away without his ultimate. Remember, he has 0 range. Up from the deadly fire. Let's see whether Ona can get in there and take this one down. The ultimate from Calyx says absolutely not as the ramp comes in. And they take down Lehends. Chiu trying his very best to kite as Faker gets himself all the way back to his shroud and isn't going to be able to offer any more damage. And a Lehends for an Otacon. Nongshim would take that any day of the week.
The only one who might disagree with there is Lehends, and I think even he's wise enough
He
to
would have
know.
called it. He would have made the call, Cronny, you know that.
Carrier just gets blown up. Without his ultimate, Alistar really isn't that tanky. I want to look at how does T1 turn this around. I think it's Doran and Faker, like the damage and knock-off combo plus Owner leading, and then look at this ult from Guma. He positions that a little bit different, and they're actually able to get another shot in. Maybe they can at least trade for Lehends as well, as we take a look here. Calyx has just been on point. It starts with the perma or the ultimate, the prison from Gideon, and then the follow-up is there. But right here, T1 really wants to try and extend this play with the Otacon debuff still there. But it's the recall and straight into another flight out.
Yes, this is what we've been doing. Get out, get straight back in again. As Lehends is going to interrupt Faker, and Chiu's going to take him down now. An equalizer on top of Gumayushi, and there is no one to defend him. Down goes both of the damage dealers. T1 have no way out. They are just cooked. This dragon is now going to be taken. That is a clean ace, an objective steal, and what else Nongshim want to get?
Was the best deal that we're going to get.
There's always a better deal. I learned that from Danny DeVito and Matilda back in the day.
And really what we're learning here again is that challengers reign supreme, because both Lehends and Chiu are looking sharp here as T1 really want to deny this trick. Faker does nothing in this fight, and Guma, he doesn't die immediately, but he still doesn't do any damage. And this is what we said with this draft. This is what we were worried about.
Yeah.
And as we can see, as soon as Faker doesn't do heaps of damage, or Guma doesn't get to set up for an ult and kind of work on the outskirts of these fights.
Life insurance that meets your needs now.
What the fuck?
For when
The fights just aren't playable, and now Otacon is there for Nongshim, so any fight will get
Okay,
even
as
personal.
long as I'm not on screen
There have been
doing
games where I think people kind of
stuff.
hone in on the draft for T1, and I'm like, I don't know, I think it's mostly gameplay. A lot of the Humble Life games kind of work that way.
Yeah.
In this one, though, we had our reservations, and I think those
I was ready for them to be like, oh, even though we've got this almost unplayable
Weird.
draft, we're going to show you that it's really good.
This happens a lot.
It happens a lot. The nameplates are powerful. But they're not powerful enough, and especially not now. We're seeing like that last fight was the perfect example of exactly what we were talking about.
And obviously, Nongshim is on blue side. I think the game at this point is fully in Nongshim's hands. We could see T1 get a crazy comeback, but I don't think it should happen. Particularly because Nongshim's comp is so good in the actual team fight, right? Often where you see teams kind of throw a lead is if their comps aren't good 5v5s. But if you're playing a side lane comp, which I think T1 really ideally want to play 1-4, you can't do that right now.
Lehends is going to knock up Carrier, and Carrier's going to have to ult. But the CC is still raining down. Thankfully, Aftershock is going to be there. So with the ultimate and Aftershock, Carrier will be able to get out with at least a bit more than half of his health bar. Nongshim now, though, just full control. And Gio able to push up, and they will make it so dark on this top side of the map. Baron up and available. Is Brambleback going to be consumed by Gideon for the entire team? As Lehends still looking for more and more angles. Doran tries his hand at face checking. And T1 needs to do this because they need to try and get vision on this Baron, because we mentioned Nongshim, they have damage. They destroy Baron. They've got a Rumble and Desire. So if they look at this... Yeah, and Ione. This time around, though, they're going to look for the pick on towards this,
he's real
this
dead.
King. And then, yeah, he's really dead. They're going to be able to take that one. Calyx over this wall, though, and we'll see whether T1 can get here in time. As 1,000 gold
secured. There's a Glacial Prison as well, as Gideon just trying to get himself out of there. Nongshim wanting to protect the Barons. And Ona is in so much trouble. They dive on top of Faker. He's knocked up forever. And they still don't have damage, ladies and gentlemen. Gumayushi going to have to be chased out of this one. And we'll see whether he's going to survive. The Permafrost is in range. And it, in fact, just last hits him. They will trade their walking barbecue for a Baron and then just kill them anyway.
That's a fourth amazing deal for Nongshim. They just keep stringing these together.
It's extraordinary.
Well, hands for Otacon, great deal. 1 for 5, wonderful. 5 for 0, I thought it didn't get better.
Well, there's a dragon as well.
Barbecue for Nash, that's a freebie. And the pick and rumble is nice, but I want you to look at how much is invested here. This is free ultimates.
And the flash from Doran as well, which looked kind of cool and stuff, but you didn't need to do it.
Yeah, you really did. That wasn't necessary. And it doesn't make a difference. I don't think so. Except that Orno, right? Like if the Orno's available here, maybe they can make a play. But instead, look at Faker's health bar.
Oh, he was mid shuriken backflip. Like, I think he started the animation and then was just CC denied, wasn't able to get in. Unless it was his ultimate, which would have been even worse.
As an Akali, like trying to play the fights where the enemy team knows you're there, has more than enough CC, and is basically funneling you into the choke point. Because I understand why T1 is trying to fight there. They know the game's basically over. You got to go for the Hail Mary fight after Nongshim just taken down Nash. But this first game is looking like the T1 draft not working out, but there is a good amount of power picks that I am worried that have already been taken away, right? Gumayushi's Jhin, I think, has been by far his best champion. That already off the table, and him not having the best performance on it, not a great sign.
Yep. And also being able to pick Rakan in a game 1 and not having it get punished by things like Poppy and the Taliyah is kind of huge as well. So Lahan's getting a lot of advantages out of that. Speaking of which, he goes in, doesn't quite find Guma, and he's likely going to get popped. Does try and battle dance his way out, and in fact, he does. Into the backline goes Faker, but they just see him and destroy him. The ulti from Calyx as well collects the rest of them, and Nongshim are just playing with their food at this point. It's a triple kill for Jiu. They just need to wait for the Conga line of minions, and the Noodle Boys will do it here in game 1 against T1. We're going to have to see some better champions picked from our third place team here in the LCK if they want to be able to reign supreme against Nongshim. And you best believe DK and KT are extremely nervous right now.
It's the mid-game skirmishes where we thought T1 was going to pull ahead. It's a strategy they've relied on. It's a strategy that has gotten them 2 world championships, but halfway through mid-game, Nongshim says, guess what? We'll throw down.
Yeah.
From that point on, after that 1 for 5, Nongshim just kept it going, and I want to reiterate, Nongshim, this was blue side, they got an insane draft, right? We talked about the draft gap. They might end up losing this series. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Even this single game win can be what ends up getting them. And say that they somehow, with a T1 that clearly has not bounced back from a Humble Life series, end up getting a 2-0, that is, for them, a lock-in into that Legend Group.
Legend Group is what this is all about, making sure that you have the best matchups possible. Jiu doing so much damage in this game.
Pantheon should...
No, well, this is the problem, right?
Not be doing the most damage. That's not.
Hey, it's your dry skin. I need to seal in moisture. CeraVe hydrates up to 10 layers deep and delivers 3 essential ceramides, helping strengthen my barrier so I can defend against daily aggressors and lock in 24-hour hydration. CeraVe facial moisturizing lotions.
The best are built here in Central Ohio. Hondas, with more Best Buy awards than any other brand, from just $279 a month. Search your local Honda dealer today.
No.
That's not a good thing.
It certainly isn't. And like the fact that Nongshim were able to catch Faker every single time, oh my goodness, he's got a little melon.
The melon hat!
Oh, that is extraordinary. Okay, no, I completely understand now.
You get it!
I should have been looking at that one. I definitely should have. It is time for us to look towards heading to a break. When we get back to space, he's going to break down game number 1, and we'll see whether Nongshim can confirm their spot or whether T1 will bounce back. We'll see you soon.
this shit.
Doesn't.
Ciao. It's Italy, baby. That was my line.
What the fuck is all of this?
Reveal where this Poppy is really going. Because I think it's a big source of power. Lahens, obviously very happy to play really anything.
Okay, Nautilus instead.
Okay, well, I don't love that. It's fine, but I guess they want to deny the Nautilus from carry out, the main consideration, but now they can just slam Brawl.
Yeah,
I really feel like this is a bit of a fumble on floor here from Nongshim. Because you give the opportunity, this is a horrible matchup. Like, I'd say outside of Renata, probably the worst matchup for the Nautilus. You just can't do anything in lane. Now in the Lucian, Gio, is he going to try and fight fire with fire and play aggressive, or is he going to try and outscale? Those are kind of the two answers. This is fire with fire. Does mean you have a lot of damage towards that bottom side of the map. We'll see which variety it is, because I know normally with Nautilus you will go for the on-hit variety. Into this team, I think you go lethality. I don't think you want to be near anyone on that team.
Yeah, especially with the Gwen.
Yeah, you want to be able to fight for pride. Even Skarner, right? Like,
yeah.
Even if and Gio is slowly regaining form. I think it was highlighted on the space. I really do agree. I think he's slowly getting back to where we know he was back in 2023 in particular. But that will be tough on the play out. I think Nongshim, bit of a fumble there towards the end. The draft as a whole was still good, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is still a solid draft. I would give the edge to T1, but it's nothing compared to game number 1. I want to be very clear about that. And T1's top side and their lack of damage scares me a little. And I think Guma's form has been still pretty up and down. His Jhin, and that is supposed to be his pick, was not convincing. And with Lucian, you don't get a lot of room for mistakes.
Yep. Really good to see the incredible Lahens superfans still in the audience here. So many Lahens fans turning up today. Very, very cool stuff. T1 fans, though, pretty desperate to make this one a 3-gamer. And this draft, as you mentioned, Chronicler, is looking a little bit more well-suited to making that happen. Not necessarily, like you say, as one side. And let's dive into the Rift, see whether they can take game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Alright, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, a bit of a 4-stack here heading towards the top side, but not going to find anyone. Some shenanigans to begin things here as, oh, let's see where the king can get some baiting happening. Don't think it is going to work out. And I think everyone else has probably gone back. Okay, never mind. We're flashing in.
Oh, he doesn't know.
No.
Again? A second first blood?
Well, they're going to look for it. There's the hook connecting. And a flash heroic charge. Doran's real dead. Nongshim are just the architects of the level 1.
Lahens. Perhaps the most sneaky giant guy in big armor I've ever seen. Sneaks his way in. It is Gio actually going, which I love, for the Comet, so that doesn't mean he's playing lethality, which doesn't feel quite as exciting with the Nautilus as, the reverse. Oh, Lahens, I think he has a suspicion. He still walks in. Poppy is there.
And, okay, she's going to back away. They know, like, Lahens doesn't have flash, doesn't have ignite, has nothing.
It's still fine.
Some good damage. Doesn't also have Hex Splash, which is a big shame.
Gideon. Wonder if he wants to really try and look for an aggressive play towards the spot side. There is vision.
Ooh, gonna catch him. Gio able to offer a little bit of damage back here, but heal being invested by T1 will help even things out when it comes to the summoner spells.
Carrier does a spell book, so we'll be able to just use his spells a ton and not really be too worried, as we do see the Skarner again. The Prior remains decently high. We haven't had a lot of Skarner games that really blew our mind, as and he was ready for that dash in. But there is a Skarner that invaded his top side. I don't think they know, and he is very low.
He is extremely low.
Is he paying attention?
Yeah, got to make sure that he gets out of here. He could just be flash slammed. Does get interrupted. Gideon now booking it towards the top side. And, I mean, Owner is just going to try and go for this one again. As he does boop him away, the flash has to be invested. As now Doran could be in trouble. He's battling with both the turret and the Jace. As he picks up the aggro. And there's the last hit. Kingan! That was absolutely extraordinary. Picks up the second kill for Nongshim. And the Skarner is nowhere to be seen. Oh my, I have not seen an outplay like that in a really long time.
With Asana,
Oh,
AI
come
teammates
on,
are
man.
here to help level up your goals. Try it for free.
Starting at $399.99. Some say you can't have it all. Clearly, they've
How, as Skarner, are we not walking up and just flash E-ing? Like, you can't go for the long wind up on E. If you know Kingan has his hammer, you can't.
근데 너가
There's just no way. Because look, the thing here is, I thought Owner was just gonna go in.
Yeah,
and it goes.
you heard the response. He was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That was what he said.
Great flash. Yeah, he's like. Yeah. That was.
Yeah, Kingan was actually just like, don't spend time on me. Just get advantages.
Which
he said that
'cause he
before
should.
the play even happened.
Oh my God, there's no shot.
Oh, okay. Well,
they're bullying him.
Doran's not having a great time. The hook catches him as well. Of course it does. Calyx, he's going to grab a piece of the pie here. And Nongshim, they've already got feats of warfare here at 4 minutes.
You know what the crazy part is? This isn't even really Lahenza's fault. Like, this one. I think even arguably the previous
Doran's fault?
Sorry, Doran's fault. Yeah. No, well, Lahenza's at fault for killing.
One of three of them has
Doran.
got to be Doran's fault.
Well, so I think the first one is right because you can just immediately peace out, and I think the second one he should have just backed off the moment that Owner got hammered away instead of fully committing to the play. But I also am just kind of unsure how they didn't coordinate better towards the top side. Like Owner going in when the wave wasn't fully pushed. So I guess the read was that Poppy would be on the way, but then you just can't go for that play as Lahans.
Yeah, Lahans taking a lot of damage, and there is the last hit. So I'm not sure what his plan was.
That too is Lahans. Has his flash.
Indeed.
Now.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes it's a bait, like in game 1. Sometimes he's just into it.
That was the
second.
That was the second one.
Yeah, we had a bit of that one there.
That game is not T1. Despite all of this, still has a gold lead. Although I do think that the Lahans moment did help a lot with that, because if you look at the gold lead, it's mostly in bot lane.
Yeah. And it wasn't that big before. It was like 7s and 6s. Not so much anymore. So they've got a game plan, don't they?
Atlas, Gideon on Poppy. We've seen this man do. Oh
dear.
No.
Well, Doran may die again. As there's the interruption on the dash. Gets thrown into the sky, booped back by the big hammer, and Doran will get taken down. Kingan collects himself the kill. And they need to really start thinking about giving Doran a kill onto Lahens just so they can start resetting the money. Because, I mean, we're going to start wasting time soon. May as well pick up a cannon. All right. Owner coming on in, though. 3 versus 2 here on this top side. Jiu is walking very, very slowly. Blocks the Winter's Bite. And they're unable to get it. The hook does come back as Jiu's burning. Owner in a bit of trouble. Owner finds it with the piercing arrow. What is this, Nongshim? Everything's just a fadeaway jump shot. They're getting buckets when the defense looks okay.
Don't know enough about basketball to directly respond to
I mean, I think, like, I don't really either, but...
Well, then why are you going for it? Okay, I don't want to get distracted. We have been so laser focused. I want to focus on this game because 2 things to me are true. I think that Nongshim are playing like their lives depend on it, and it does, right? This match absolutely pivotal for them. But also, T1 looks so tilted.
Oh, yeah. And I don't blame them. I'm tilted. Watching these plays, how is that Q like, supposed to even work? Surely one of them should have died in that last fight. Jeepers.
That's the 1 gold lead that T1 had. Now also taken off the board.
And they've got 1 left.
So T1 does have a composition that eventually will always get value. But I kind of felt good about their game state when they got the early kill. And then here, Lehans just doesn't get tagged by the final auto. No one has flash, and no one can actually get on top of him.
It's like, that's why Lehans went to Challenger with Jiu.
Oh, you're saying this?
Because then Jiu blocked the auto, so like wasn't sharing pixels, made sure that he wasn't stunned up. As now Owner is going to come on over. Gideon is not afraid of anything. He's just heroically charging in over and over again. And you mentioned before, I mean, it's a 1.5k gold lead. It's not really anything, but still.
It's the
feeling. Go a little bit wide.
Atlas.
Yeah, it's the vibes, and it's the fact that, like, you'd be infinitely tilted after all of those plays worked out
and
so beautifully for Nongshim.
A Nongshim that's vibing. This goes back to 2023. We know that's dangerous.
Not to mention 2022, there's a Kingen on this team, and the guy just had one of the sickest outplays at the LCK this season.
People are always taking pics of me, but they're sleeping on who the real Muse is. Okay, Coco.
It's a sunny day. The gang's all here.
Today, my boy becomes one of us!
You want me to see this? We don't have to kill them.
What is he doing?
I won't hurt you. I'm not one of them. You ready? Everything we know about dragons is wrong.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Come on!
Rated PG. Get tickets now.
He's bound to be feeling himself after that one. It also bodes terribly for DK, who's going to be facing off against them in our last match in 2 days' time. That's the most meaningful thing about this, is the fact that Nongshim could be solidifying Legend Group here, as the door does have to be put up, and Gideon, he's making his way over, wasting no time at all. 2-for-1 special with that hail of arrows, and that is going to be one picked up for Gio and one going over to Gideon. Nongshim just styling, man. I don't think you can stop them now.
I don't think there's a way. We are just witnessing Nongshim currently up 2k gold and getting closer and closer to straight up 2-0ing to. This is the one scenario that would guaranteed lock them in. By the way, there's no other outcome of this series that would give them any guarantee. We're putting them in a great position, but everything is just going poorly for T1 right now. And against Hanwha, I think there was a lot more cope angles. They're just straight up getting outplayed across the map. There's Lucian Braum trying to push an advantage. Gideon on the Poppy, which, as we have talked about often, I feel like is still going criminally under the radar as far as power picks go. And
Not to mention Gideon just being so good at this champion.
This is the champion that I think made us go Gideon might be a top 3 jungler. I do think that he's fallen off a decent amount since. In this game, though, I at the top of the day, I was like, I'm still coping for Owner, right? I think that a large part of it is just a lot of responsibility. After that Skarner play,
nah.
I'm a big Owner defender, but we got a bit of a break.
Even you have ever tried to defend his Skarner, though.
No, and T1 picking it as well doesn't bode that well.
No.
Now T1, they're not out of this. They do want to, again, remind everyone that there is a Victor, a Gwen, and a Skarner in this game, so the team fights are good.
Yeah, I do think that if they could pause this game, get a few nights sleep, maybe like go and like see a movie or something like that.
Like a little retreat.
Little retreat, you know.
You know, Sinners is out of Heard it's supposed to be great.
Yeah, there we go. That would be perfect.
Some
Spend
team
time
building.
Yeah, in a hot spring perhaps.
Yeah, maybe a hike. You know, like an early morning hike.
Yeah. For like at least 3 days, and then came back, sat down on the chairs, and unpaused this game. I think there's hope. In the state that they're in now, I don't think there's hope.
Well, I don't believe in Costa Curses, so
it's not about curses. It's just the reality of the power of mental, and I just think things are a little bit rough right now. As Calyx playing this one pretty effectively, of course. Faker not in any real danger, although he doesn't have flash. Still, maybe Gumayusi can be the hope here for T1, but they're going to have to go for a full mental reset. Otherwise, this is going to be very, very rough. Lens possibly going to face check here as he doesn't get the buffer. Chains of Corruption comes down, gets a nice double knockup. He's actually investing a fair bit here as he does try and get the stun up. Flash does come out and Nongshim just not able to follow up in time, even though he bought a fair bit of it.
That's a land skill. Those don't count. We all know that.
Yeah, no,
they do. We're joking. But it is definitely a big win for T1. They got to use Flash, which is nice. Got a kill on lands. But the real bounties are on the top side, right? Kingen and Gideon need to go down. And I'm also hoping for T1 that we have seen in the past Faker's Victor go for really defensive builds. Now you do have a lot of AP damage on the top side of the map with Doran as well. But with this game stay, I feel like
we hex flash it. Finds the stun here as well. The door will go up. So some time could be bought here as the double knockup from Gideon is gorgeous. The Ignite ticking down and carry up. He won't be okay as there's a realm warp coming in and he's going to have to walk the wrong direction. Kingen will be able to block him off. He's taking them on a merry jaunt around Summoner's Rift here as the flash goes in. Kingen just looking to challenge Goomer and he takes it down. Even though the flash was invested. Doran, I don't think is going to be diving to you here.
So to start making a pizza, put my pizza in the oven, and this is what I come back to.
So Goomer dies. Vicarious sins, I guess.
That can't happen. Lucian is one of those
terrible.
carries where you have so much mobility, you have so much innate safety. There's
we're ganking Calix. He doesn't have flash. He's going to try and look for something back, but he does not get it. And there it is, Doran picking up a kill here for T1. And Ono going to come on over and look to try and steal away the crowd. Does not manage to get the smite, but it was a cute little effort. Isn't going to get punished for it or anything like that. Play goes down in the mid lane. And T1 keeping it within touching distance here. 1.2 thousand gold.
This is crazy.
Gumiushi just got back, guys. Okay, Gideon is going in. Misses the Q straight up, but that is going to be a lot of damage going down there as Carrier looks to try and get something back. As Kingen, he's going in and actually had the passive on him, and now they're looking for Doran, who was very far up. Gideon's just dead because Ona did make it towards this bottom lane eventually. And Nongshim, chill out, please.
I have a good summary of what just happened. What? Okay, so Nongshim, they got a little dizzy. There was too much happening there.
Who you telling, Blood? Get this shit out of here, cuz.
At some point here, I think they were sitting on a 2k gold lead.
Yeah, and now it's
gold's now even.
Yeah. We need to calm down.
So, gonna highlight good things. Owner tirelessly waiting working to make things happen on the map. Faker, he's absorbing pressure. He's setting up for his teammates. I don't like that he's going for another vegan Victor build, but we'll let it go. Guma, my guy, back-to-back performances that aren't really inspiring. The amount of damage that Kingen is doing, though, absolutely disgusting.
It's not very fair at all.
It's the
goes back in as well, but then like this, like
that is
guys.
So, guys, you know he was there. We saw him earlier.
Yeah.
And then here Doran gets his flash forced as Lehens and Giu have the combo. And I think he, really nice sidestep there from Doran. Because if that kill goes over, the gold lead does remain in place for Nongshim. That's not going to be the case. Those both side kills definitely a big deal.
Okay, Giu able to at least boost out of there with his Ghost Blade. Still good, softening him up just a little bit here. Doran gets the experience for the cannon.
Things are now kind of fine for T1.
Yeah?
Well, in terms of game state, I still don't think
it must have been the retreat, or maybe it was the hot springs or the sauna or something
they
like
just
that.
It's the classic, snip my fingers and the time
they did a bit of time dilation type stuff.
That's powerful.
That must have been what it was. Or maybe their professional gamers don't let the game state get to them.
Don't
they have
quite as
just
easily as
titanium mental, Or maybe enough people were tilted on their behalf for them not to be, as Doran is going to get slammed to the wall. He's dead, guys. This is a Gwen that is not immune. The inner turret is likely to fall down as well as Calix. Let's see whether he can survive on the other side of the map. This is called a cross-map play, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen. As Calix does deal with the wave, and now he's just looking to run.
I think he just wants the wave.
He will probably be able to get most of it. As it does take a little bit of time. One last little auto. There it is. Faker's able to lock that one down. But Kingen did get this inner turret on the bottom side of the map, and as you can see represented in the gold numbers on the top of the screen, that is kind of worth here for Nongshim.
So Doran doesn't get to play the video game, as we have already established. That trend kind of continues.
Yes.
Nongshim is going to get the second Drake. If the Poke comp gets Hextech Soul, I think
Thankfully,
that...
it's not Hextech Soul.
Oh yeah, never mind.
It's 16
I
and a
thought
half
we were
minutes. We
already on the
should have been
second
there.
dragon, but
Oh,
there's been
it's
too much
infernal.
going on. Oh,
But
my
just
statement
your
stands.
statement stands, absolutely.
Nice, thank you, Rift. Imagine if it was like Hextech and I'm like, man, I gotta change my whole point.
Yeah, the whole point would have been erased. Thankfully, you had a few good options, because Ocean would have also been pretty awful for T1 to deal with.
Yeah, Ocean I think is kind of doable. It's not great, but you do eventually, I think, with this comp, you reach a critical mass on both Gwen and Victor, and then you do
I
time to
guess
get
it's
through.
not Adam.
Yep. But if T1 would have gotten it, would have been horrible. But Infernal is going to be amazing for Nongshim. I still like their position more because the objective control, right? They've been able to actually get these two dragons very early on, which gives them a lot of flexibility in how they play their mid games. T1's team fight though is quite strong. Faker also going for what looks to be a very early Void Staff. Happy about that. If he was going to go like Sonya second, I would have been a bit unhappy. I think that T1 need all the damage they can get because it's got to be coming down to the team fights here.
I've seen this one before as Gio going to cleanse. Not going to get slowed down, but Lehans may pay for it as he does get the aftershock. He's actually pretty tanky. Chains of Corruption go in, but the answering door is going to be there. Steadfast presence, though, is Gideon, and he's going to be able to keep himself alive. The 1-3-1 working out pretty well here for Nongshim, though. As you can see, Calyx and Kingen in these side lanes making things happen. Nongshim will be able to defend outside of losing their Nautilus. Kingen giving a lot of respect to Faker here as he moves towards that top side, knowing that there were quite a few people roaming up there.
We have experience leads for particularly mid lane.
Oh dear.
Alex
Alex may have just killed himself by stopping that back.
Yeah, you're not getting off your realm mob, I don't think, against Skarner.
No. That is not happening. Does get a very large boost of speed with that phase rush. Oh, and he gets out! That was sick! That was sick, Calyx! Did have to invest the flash for it, but damn, he looked cool.
One more wave for a flash. I say...
it wasn't even one more wave. It was throwing a Q into nothing.
No, I know. I was about to say, it was stylish. It wasn't good.
Yeah, okay. Faker takes 1 billion damage.
No flash.
And some from Kingen. And now,
And
Kingen's getting teleported on. Gideon going to be moving up here. We'll see whether he can get the crab. He will be able to, as Kingen is just dead.
And that's that.
I think they had no vision. Like, because otherwise Gideon could have just roamed up.
Ooh, that was sexy.
And protected.
Come on, man.
Hey, I hear somebody in.
Kingen. So I'm pretty sure they were just caught off guard by that. Nongshim, couple of mistakes slipping in here, and T1 clearly not going down without a fight.
Absolutely not.
That's a big shutdown. Going over to Doran. That actually, he's still 1.8k gold behind. So it's not great, but it's definitely better. And Gwen does, I think, outscale in this match. If you can get to like relative parity, which this really helps with, the spike for Kingen right now is still kind of disgusting. Faker not having his flash is also a big deal. There's a lot of champions on Nongshim where their snap engage is so insane, right? Where you can just get on top of them very easily and blow your opponents up in seconds. And T1 do have a triple carry composition, but two of their carries are still pretty substantially behind.
I mean, there's a lot of other teams that would never have allowed T1 this kind of way back in. So
it's still Nongshim.
Yeah, Nongshim needs to tidy it up a little bit. They want to make this one happen. 300 gold, and you can feel the momentum shift, right? It felt before like Nongshim could kind of do no wrong. They were running circles around T1. That has stopped happening now. The answers are now there for the T1 squad. And when Nongshim go for their overly aggressive plays, they are then punished.
I do kind of want a free gamer Atlas. I'm really enjoying
I would rather not play the game and T1 lose.
You know, it might not be
than
pretty, but this is what League of Legends
So come on,
looks like.
T1. Quit being
I mean,
bitchy.
it is pretty.
Gumi,
there
you
was
suck.
Pretty plays. There's been some big ones in this game. It's okay. Gumayushi gonna get the ult out of G. That looked like that was a fear ultimate.
I want to remind you of the Owner Skarner top situation and also the bot lane dive where Owner also shows up and just kills 2 people for seemingly no reason.
Yeah, no, those things did happen. However, there were the positives. And
one of the positives
Kingan's playing
is
hella clean.
yeah, right. Like Kingan's playing on the top side, and then Calix getting the really cool like phase rush into Realm Warp
Yeah, but
Flash Blade just so that he could
even-
make sure that he got off that one Q that hit nothing. Ah, gorgeous.
I think what this game is arguing, really, when you boil it down, is function over form. Or sorry, form over function, right? Like, because Gen G, for
Yeah.
example, it's pure function. They are a methodical team.
It's like going to the ballet.
It's
know?
ballet versus German engineered cars.
Exactly.
You know, Gen G, they will never let you down. They're stable, they're well engineered. But this is art. Atlas.
Honestly, that actually makes Lehens make sense. Lehens is performance art.
It is!
He just is, as a person. That's alright. Siege is now on. Gideon possibly in trouble, but he has 1 billion hit points, so that might help him out. And T1 slowly but surely getting poked down. Remember, Nongshim's poke is kind of ridiculous. And then they can turn on a dime as well. Remember, Realm Warp and the Poppy
There's
can
so much
really
art
skew
engaged.
these fights. It's kind of nuts.
Even Lehens?
Yeah.
There's a Braum. I like the angle from Doran here. Oh, he's found.
Yeah, King gonna spot him out there, and I don't think he can walk into a full health Jace.
The wave control for Nongshim is so crazy. With Lethality, Varus, and Rise.
Yeah, they can just walk back for 2 seconds to the wave, and it is just gone. Doran doing that on the bottom side of the map, though, as we can see here, so they might be able to get control at least at some point.
Maybe Calix, yeah, item finished.
Oh god, that is the 2-item spike coming in for the Rise. I'm pretty sure his Seraph should be done as well. It's a Rise. There it is. Big spike now.
I don't know if T1 can already fight this. That's soul point for Infernal Soul, Atlas!
At 23 minutes! T1, they're going to try and get over here. Doran gets into the pit. Ona, can you actually drive your way through it still? He cannot. And they just get rid of the Gwen. The culling does nothing, and Nongshim say thanks for the soul point. And it feels to
Crazy,
me like
man. What
Nongshim
are they
have walked back
doing?
in again. It was a bit of happy gaming for a while there, but that was a great play.
What's really big is that T1's disengage is incredible, but their engage kind of sucks. It's just Skarner.
Yeah.
And there are...
What about engage Braum?
Yes, exactly. And there are 3 phase rushes, a Gade, a Realm Warp, and a Poppy on the enemy team.
Yeah.
So, really, and we already kind of highlighted this, if the game state was a bit more even, and T1 were in a position where they were not pretty substantially behind as...
Okay. Well, Doran is going to try to make this one work. He flashes, but yeah, no, Kingan is just going to hit him with
Doran, I'm trying to defend you, but that flash, I cannot. No can do.
No.
Maybe it might be an Otacon angle. Yeah, Kingan is flash. Or TP. I think they should look towards that.
Unless they can go for some sort of fight, which, you know, 4 versus 5.
They are Nongshim, so that's probably what they'll do.
Yeah, teleport comes in from King and get it into the area. And it looks like it's either fight or Otacon or both. Or all of the above. There it is. The engage. The slam into the wall. Great knockups, though, coming through from this Braum. But Keria, he can only do so much. Gumayushi finds the culling onto the side. And Gideon, he's just unkillable. I just don't know whether we're ever getting through this Poppy. Calix was somewhere at that time.
Man, I gotta stop fucking with League of Legends.
Whoa, it's a flash from King, and he's looking for another one. The flash comes out, the slow is cleansed, but you cannot cleanse death. And it's a solo kill for Kingin. 6, 2, and 5 on this Jace. He's 3k ahead. They pick up an Otacon and Nongshim. It's once again looking like they
Maybe
have
I will
this
be
one
playing
in
the
the bag.
game again.
No. Yeah, it's just game.
It's just Baron.
It's just game, Atlas. That's what that was.
Huh.
Can't wait to see the discourse after this one.
I mean, Noodles, man. You know what
by discourse, I'm referring to the post that the Nongshim social media manager is going to show.
True, that's a good one.
Just you wait. This is again the only outcome with which Nongshim, this Kingan man, because for me Kingan was on the verge of dropping below Doran. I feel like his last couple of weeks really weren't that impressive. Doran had made a comeback. But right now, my oh my, and this T1 biting off way more than they could chew. You're guaranteed down a member,
and you're just not allowed. You're not allowed to make that play.
You have to wait until they're.
Kingan is going to go into 4 people and die. He of course didn't have very much choice there, as Calix is splitting on the other side. Ju's in the mid lane.
Oh, this
might look like a good pick for T1, but Nongshim are very happy with this.
That's inner turret, outer turret for Hammerman. Hextech Hammerman.
I do like.
It felt good to say.
I
just wanted to say it again.
I like Hammerman.
Expenses, the onboarding, the benefits, the time off requests, fixing payroll. It has to stop.
A cry for Was that necessary?
No, neither is stressing over things that should be automated. Paycom automates everything. That's less stress for you and your people.
Okay.
Set your HR and payroll to automatic and make the unnecessary unnecessary.
Nobody understands me.
What do you mean?
Alex and Christian have been great additions to ECR, but really, Gary's been the game changer. He delivered our Java House coffee pods and just sort of never left.
What you might want to do is put a little more grease on the bearings here.
Gary's advice doesn't make a lot of sense.
I would check that if I was doing it.
But I tell you what, his lattes, oh.
Delivery.
It's too early for this. Where's the coffee
Looks
machine?
like you need a Java House.
Oh.
Who needs a coffee machine?
Java House, cold brew coffee.
Amazing.
Really smooth.
Yes.
He is. As
He is sometimes Gunman. This is Bookman, and Bookman is in a bit of trouble. Keeper's verdict, and it's in. The verdict is no more commissions.
I can't believe I just now realized how many judge jokes we could have been making all this time with Poppy. I feel like I haven't been doing that at all. That's such a wealth of
I know.
jokes that I've never tapped into.
Also, isn't Judge the name of that guy from that show who was played by Boromir? Not Boromir, the Rohan guy? Oh man, I don't have enough information in my brain to make this one work.
I can't help you with this one, Atlas.
Yeah,
Kingen,
it's my bad. I'll try and figure it out. Kingen was dead. Yeah.
It's a nice collapse. It's a death rush. Often means that there isn't really a lot going on the rest of the map, which there wasn't. And T1 is going to have to find a Hail Mary. I do want to draw your attention.
Judge Dredd. That's what I was
Carl
talking
Urban.
Carl,
Yeah.
And I meant Irma. Why did I say Boromir? What is wrong with me? Sorry, Sean B.
That's why I was so confused.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's okay.
Sometimes our brains fade.
I again want to highlight, looking at the gold, T1 is behind. It's not unfightable, but it's more so what we have witnessed. The gameplay thus far from Nongshim just has been way better. And unless T1 get one of those classic T1 team fights where suddenly they're able to turn the game around, not unlike one of my other favorite legal games, Phoenix Wright, right? Turnabout
I
T1.
knew you were gonna do it. Gideon goes in, but it was right as Oda was going in himself, and then he just looks a bit silly. Oda takes a fair bit of damage, but Nongshim are now on the run. I'd almost say it was kind of lucky, as now Doran is looking for even more. No, don't do it. You don't need to, as he flashes forward and just blast cones his way out. They need to deny this dragon. That's absolutely true. As Kingen is an absolute monster, but not if the shock blasts do not land. And Nongshim will not be able to challenge.
Come on, T1.
That
Come on,
infernal
T1.
dragon. T1 just bought themselves 5 minutes.
Is that Edgeworth's music I hear? Are we in a Phoenix Wright game?
Oh,
Is this Ace Attorney? Turnabout T1?
Well, I don't know about that because Kingen is going to come on over and it's Gumshoe's is like,
no,
brother, that is not evidence.
And when Gumshoe's correcting, you know you really messed
Exactly.
up. Faker was on the flank. Do they have the resources to really do anything here? No, they don't.
Yeah.
I think they should get out. It's fine. You got the dragon. Well, we are not going out.
Gwen is not immune if he just dives in. However, she can just kill him. And so down goes Kingen. Calix is now golden, but in an awkward spot. In comes Gideon. Might be able to get the punishment here onto Doran, but he's done a decent job. But look at this. It's the Bash Brothers. It's the tanks. And they're rushing towards them. That's going to be the kill on Agumiyushi. Faker comes over, though. He is now a person with damage. And Gio is going to try and win the game alone here on the top side of the map. It's gotten silly. It's gotten silly very quickly, but I think that's probably good for T1, as it was looking very over.
Yeah, that calling, another red herring. Clearly, false evidence trying to throw us off the case of what is actually happening in this game.
Stop it. Please, stop lawyering.
I don't know what's going on. What is
This
happening?
is wild,
So,
bruh. Hold on, I'm about to
Kingen
sit down.
is able to get the sums of Guma. Faker was on the flank, and T1's like, you know what? We've hit our spikes. We're strong. They take a Freeman shockwave to the face.
We're not strong. Quick.
Okay, pretend to be fake. Pretend to be fake. Kingen goes in and just gets popped. Doran is actually doing crazy work in these team fights, by the way. Like his
And
damage.
Faker also, the Zonya's timing.
Sonya's
gorgeous.
timing was great. Just a little bit off the timing. Yeah, otherwise this Chaos Storm would have kept going, but it wasn't quite there. That calling, I don't want to talk about it. Wouldn't have mattered.
I did miss that one.
Yeah, well, so did he. Let's be real. Wouldn't have mattered for the play. I think Gideon always kills him there because he is just simply too low. Stock taking. Drake went to T1. The game technically continues, and gold is a little bit more stabilized. Now, what does it mean? I don't know. But I just want to get a third game of this, Atlas. I'm just entertained.
Yeah,
to
that's
my core.
That is why we need T1 to win, so that we can just get more of whatever this is. Nongshim are doing that thing where T1 are out on the map and they've left their front door open. So they're going to go in and take their stuff. Well, we'll see whether they can, as Lance does get the interruption. That's beautiful onto Ona. As now Gideon just says goodbye to Doran. And Carrier there to defend, but now Ona and Faker in so much trouble. The two-man Impale is gorgeous with the Arcane Storm layered on top, but Kingen is going to survive. The phase rush again, saving Nongshim. And they just lose the jungler. It is only Ona that goes down. That felt like it could have been way worse for T1, but it's not bad.
So Baron is up, but there are 2 teleports available. Both Doran and Faker can join at a moment's notice. Uma.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Melody Varus on 4 items. He hurts,
This
but
is
there
terrible.
is Doran now making his way in.
Yeah.
As is Faker. They got to get towards the. I don't think they can. I think they have to give it to the Baron.
I mean, last time they tried to do this, they all died. And the Baron still went, and the Otacon went at the same time. Like, I understand why they're just going to back away, and now Baron is picked up for Nongshim. There is a minute on the clock until the Infernal Soul as well. And you can see that Baron timer is feeling pretty good. Their ability to lock that one down. Alex, he's on a control ward. It's alright. Realm Warp just gets him out.
Didn't even have to flash. I didn't know it was possible.
He's pretty good at dancing in and out of the Realm Warp, isn't he?
So the attempted flank here from Doran and Faker doesn't quite work.
I don't know what's going on, but I know I don't like it.
Gideon ensuring that.
What is this?
So, what do you think?
I think I don't like you.
Oh.
My fault.
Flasher's deal didn't have
Sorry.
it, FYI, but if he did, you have the damage. The reset comes through. That might be the turn as Alex.
Fuck Goichi or whatever his name is. Whatever that nigga name is.
Does have the Seraphs, does go golden. T1, it's only a matter of time. They just wait it out. They take down the Rise, but that's a 2-man investment into just 1 on the side of Nongshim. 20 seconds until the Infernal, as you indicate to me there, Chronicler, could be a big deal as Ona and Doran can both get back over here. And now Gio is in so much trouble, actually. Never mind.
He's fast.
Close in on him.
But there is a, they remember down. So Nongshim want to play it slow. T1 want to try and push. But they don't have vision control. So T1 are going to try and probably get Prio through mid, then rotate into the river. Calyx doesn't have TP as well. So they have about 40 seconds before Rise shows up. Their engage isn't great, but they got to force right now.
Yep, gonna try and find something here as the hail of arrows comes down. Nongshim looking to get themselves out of here as Gideon will be able to secure.
Summon Scuttle.
Yeah, the crab. That's a good one. Chance of Corruption comes in here as if they kill Ona, that's a big deal, but the door goes up. Keeper's Verdict is gonna make it an even fight as they take down the Jason. So much of the damage with the Puppy. Oh my god, Gideon, you are so incredible. Doran goes golden, the culling is gonna get
Oh my god.
He's just dead. It's a triple here for Gio, and they are just gonna go in, walk in the front door and win the game. And Calyx is like, guys, what happened?
Oh, look at the faces on Gio and Lance. Gio living there actually ends up winning. That fight was on the verge of being lost. Doesn't even blow his cleanse, by the way.
Doran, you suck.
By that Braum passive from
I'm
actually
sorry, I
going
didn't
down.
mean that.
And with this win, Nongshim secure the Legend group with a 2-0.
We have Noodles in the top half of the LCK. And they're going to be facing off against Team
I am disgusted.
in the coming weeks.
And Gio takes...
Dude, this is the power of Challenger.
That's Challengers, baby.
They both went to Challenger together, Gio and Lehens, and they lost.
Who would win? The greatest player of all time. 4 2-time world.
That's disgusting.
As far as how many
I'm
statisticians
disgusted.
you'd require.
I am disgusted. I'm gonna just skip the. I'm not. I don't know. I can't watch nothing else they got to say about that. That was disgusting. That was terrible. Let's get. Come on. Hold on one second. That was terrible. Muy terrible, babe. I'm glad I was making pizza and watched that travesty of Eustace. That's wild. That was wild, blood. Y'all niggas wild.
Quiet. In fact,
Wow.
maybe it's an infinite amount of statisticians. Maybe I'm a
Try to watch this and try to enjoy
you
this.
know?
You just
Come on,
slides up, doesn't
DM
bother.
Yeah,
free.
it's like how many psychics does it take
That's
to
not
kill a
gonna
dark
win.
Pokemon?
I don't know.
Infinite, because they're immune to psychic.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that, but now I do.
There you go.
And Bessa locked in does make sense. It's both a pick away from Shiyu, who has really favored the pick.
That's
and I think it's one of the
crazy,
few
man. I'm
that's
about to get
winning
off
on
the
it.
internet,
Doodles,
blood. I gotta go to
winning
work. After that, that hurt
I
my
think it was
soul,
against T1 that it
cuz.
kinda popped off. Well, Lady Carry Bands, both DMF and Ezreal have been aiming's most two favorite champions. His MF in particular is one of the few MFs that makes us.
But I mean,
the
I'm not
champion.
gonna do nothing
Why
but get
don't you
off
see
the.
Zeri Lulu?
But stop the stream and watch the game anyway. So, I mean, this is my problem. That's the problem, and that's why we here. But this is also good shit. I don't talk about the draft too much because I don't know what's going on.
You know, like Senna Nico?
I know what I see and what happens.
Any range champion, right?
Any range champion, yeah. Well, that's why I said Nico.
I think
Nico
Barrel's
makes
just gonna
sense.
play
Mm.
wrong.
I wouldn't hate
He's just gonna play
Cinnabon.
wrong. Yeah. That is sort
What
of
they
the
gonna
thing
do?
we're expecting. You know what? I'm gonna up the ante,
Ooh.
Chronicler.
Okay.
We're looking at all-time stats for Showmaker's Yone. Let's bring that one out and see how you like that. 67%. And no, it's not 3 games. I know when you see the 66.7, that's when you're thinking that it's probably 3 games. No, it's 12 games. Okay?
Okay. Atlas.
Yeah?
Where would you rate Showmaker's Yone?
Oh, really low.
Why are you trying to prove it? Doesn't matter. So let's.
Stats, baby.
I really like the DK draft
Whatever.
here. I think that the Senna Braum as a lane is obviously a little underwhelming. But when we look at the rest of this, you have a really strong brawling topside core. I think DK,
Husband
when they
versus
look,
Weave.
generally rely on that. Aiming on an 80 carry without any escapes.
Lucian versus Senna. This is beautiful. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Kinda has a lot of similarities in where you can be. The
Tune in tomorrow. I'm gonna try to do an ape-a-thon. We need to get some subscribers up in here, blood. On the Rilio. For Rilio. We'll do that on the apes.
But their laning phase really has been their strongest
This is
point.
really
Where
just
they've
about
gotten
my
a decent amount of
problem.
leads,
I can't
it's
stop watching
everything
this
after
shit.
that.
I can't stop obsessing over this. And I suck at the game.
I saw signs that never give up. The fans are always cheering for you. Love that. That's the
What?
right energy.
How do I know so much about the game and how what you shouldn't be doing except
the underdog, the ones
when I
wanting to
play?
be here when the DNF turnaround begins. All they need to do is find that U-turn lane. You know, this is the DN Automotive Freaks.
I gotta stop being on that. Those that can do and those that can't teach. I gotta be able to do and teach, baby. I want to be like Dom.
Decent composition into the DN Freaks. Get to game 1.
I want to be like I will dominate. He's a beast and he knows the game and he can talk about the game because he know the game because he play the game. LS, you suck. He's not Emerald. He's Challenger.
The Rift for game number 1, DK versus DNF.
Whatever. I quit. I'm
That
sorry.
Yoda skin,
I'm
by
gonna
the way,
shut up.
doesn't it look so much like what's the Mr. Saiyaman?
That
Gohan
pizza. I want
after,
that pizza
the Cell Saga.
that I
Moving into
made.
Majin Buu, he's like just has like this weird like Superman like superhero persona. Does kind of look a little bit like, I think it's Super Saiyaman. I think that's what it's called. Doesn't it? You don't know it? Yeah. It's either that or Cypher. One of the two. Skin is dope. That's all I meant. Really.
That's really the main message that we want to get across.
Yeah. I need Twitch chat to save me.
I don't want to do the same thing, Atlas, where I ask how many people do you think I've seen. I feel like that joke has been overplayed. And
the
I know,
great Saiyaman, that's the guy.
and I know we do the thing where then we just keep making the joke until it's funny again, but I think we need to let it lie for a little longer.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I really appreciate you backing me up. I got a few things wrong today. It hasn't been a very good day. As look at this face-off. Like they're playing
double
tennis.
unsealed spellbook, by the way. Both Life and Barrel, big enjoyer.
And
Barrel, I'm not surprised. Life?
Well, actually, I mean,
Well.
Life is a bit of a chef, man. We know this.
That's true.
So I think
Oh
it makes
no,
a
I'm
whole
gonna
lot of
pause
sense.
on my drink,
And pretty happy to be a little.
but I'm not gonna
unshackled.
Also, the poppy value
mute
in this
my
game
face,
is kind of
which is
crazy.
beautiful, brutal.
Yeah.
Jax or Kyoshi rather just
Or
hasn't
wait.
had the best performances pretty consistently, and hopefully.
Oh, okay. I don't gotta.
Oh, what's the win rate?
Wait, what?
Like in percentage there for Showmaker on the Yone. But can you translate that?
That's 100%.
There we go.
What is this?
I want no more information. In fact, more information would make it worse. As Bulldog not doing super well on the Azir so far this season, but the one win. They don't have too many champions with that one. And in fact, Azir
What is
on a
there?
bit of a
Some
losing
kind of.
streak. Kind of interesting. I feel like a lot of teams have been forcing this in positions where teams have said, we don't need to worry about the Azir because we've done our homework, right? We've banned away the Talia. We've got ourselves
What-
into a
what
position
just
with Arthur
happened?
where we're okay to give it up. I don't think that means
That's
necessarily
crazy.
the Azir isn't strong. So see how DNF are going to pilot it this time around. Beryl puts up the door. Aiming, I'm remembering a few pretty decent center games in his past.
Was there not also a Barrel?
Trying to decide which way I want to
like
go.
Cho'Gath and just didn't know what the champion.
Oh,
didn't know
not
what
this
his
You
season.
wanna
Yeah, not
eat?
this year. I'm talking about like 2 years ago. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
remind me of that.
Yeah, I'm
That
gonna
game
eat.
was
Let's fuck it.
terrible.
I remember because I was so excited to see Cho'Gath and that
Have they-
evaporated very
Wait,
quickly.
this year, have 3 members of DK played Cho'Gath, and no one else in the LCK has played Cho'Gath?
Might be.
I think Shiu, Showmaker, and Beryl have all played it, and Aiming have all played it.
Barrel was also King Cup, right? And then the other two were more
No,
recent.
I think was it Aiming or Beryl that played it in the center?
Don't know.
I don't. The bottom lane, we had bottom lane Cho'Gath, and I think that was in the LCK, unfortunately. And we had the mid lane, like super fast Cho'Gath in.
This is spotted, but Lucid does have a small window here.
And Dudu desperately wants to stick around in this lane. They do manage to get the charge in as there's the permafrost. They get him in position, and they look to take him down. Berserker able to answer immediately, though, as the very swift swap into the top lane is going to get the Lucian at least an answer back, but still DK with first blood. Going to be feeling good.
Yeah, I think you take that. The only downside for DK is that there is no opportunity to deny the wave. Also, Dudu is going to have to invest his TP, and with that crash, I'm pretty sure that Shiu won't have to. But you're still getting first blood, and you're still denying a good amount of CS to Dudu and generating a summoner spell advantage. Lucid just ensuring with the flash that he can get the autos off. Does then end up going down. I think this swap a little bit earlier than DK was expecting, otherwise...
See? More commercials when you go full screen.
Some say you can't have it all. Clearly, they've never been here. Here, every world, every...
Might have gone a little bit earlier. So we do get the confirmation that it was in fact played 3 times. It's 1 and 2, and it was all DK.
All DK, and all different players.
So was Showmakers then the...
Yeah, Showmakers was the super fast.
The one that
Cho'Gath.
won.
Yeah, and they, it might have been. It was not the.
Oh, no, because he lost.
They all lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember so the Barrel one, he was just not good at it. And then the Showmaker one...
Also, it was, they were playing center in, like, a year too late. Or maybe 2 years
It was
too late. It was
weird,
not
yeah.
it.
And then Shiu's, I think, was good, but Shiu not on the carry just made us go...
Yeah.
I think DK played around it too well. We'll see how much he's able
That
to
was
use.
last Saturday.
It was, yeah.
Maybe they have like a monthly quota of Cho'Gaths that they need to get in. Is there like a Cho'Gath sponsorship that DK have?
Not as far as I'm aware, but you could be onto something there, right?
That might be the thing. Maybe they're sponsored by the Void. Maybe they could just have another Showmaker Cassidy game. I think that'd be better than Cho'Gath at this point in time. Showmaker loves
I'm like, what is the last Cassidy that I saw was Cho
Terrible.
Game 4 against FlyQuest.
Yeah, true.
That was a crazy Cassidy performance, by the way.
Yeah, that champion
that was
is
really
still
good.
ridiculous.
It's really when you pick it.
Yeah, if you pick it in the right Cassidy,
It's just like, oh god.
Yeah.
Bulldog's laning phase has really gone up, man. Like, again, we joke about challengers, but it is...
Oh, Crashdown comes in. Beryl is just going to walk towards Berserker, challenging the strength of his door. And it works relatively well. We get a shove in here as Lucid towards the dragon. We've got to teleport back towards this bottom side. And she was just going to help out with the Drake as he makes his way down here. Very cute. In fact,
I don't think he really has to... Doesn't have to fully commit to it, but this is the teleport event we were talking about. Does mean that the top side, Yoshik looking for a punish, and they will be able to deny about a wave here.
Yeah.
That's big. See,
frustrating.
Showmaker maybe going to hover towards the
After
top
the
side.
last
Looks
game,
like,
there's nothing that could hurt me.
Base, except that that wave is gone.
Yeah, Lucid
I don't
is
even
gonna be
care
able to take
about
the dragon
that.
before these grubs
I'm
spawn. Still a
so
minute
devastated over the
before they
T1
are up.
wall. What a suck
So
fest.
might get some time to reaffirm
Not a
the
control
control
wave
wave
either.
side.
So Aiming's going to miss, what, like 2-3 more minions?
But I mean, it is like the classic Twitch chat thing, like Senna CS, KW, right?
I know your meaning, but just in case anyone is that watching is not, Senna does actually farm in this iteration because they buffed specifically a carry Senna, which is why Aiming isn't. I know you know, but like...
I still think it was always the funniest thing.
I love that meme because I know that like 80% of people that spammed that did actually know, but
Yeah.
were just memeing. And then 20% of people were like, what is happening in my pro game?
It's very funny because it's one of those things that went from funny to annoying to funny again about 800 times.
So like Augs.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
It's like doubling down. It's exactly that moment in Family Guy. Do you remember that moment where Peter... Okay, never mind. We got a bit of an engage towards the mid lane here as Bulldog is going to get taken down to half health. And a flash forward here from Life gets Aiming splash immediately. Pioshik a little bit late on the play. And DK able to get a fair bit back. So as to what I was saying, Peter Griffin falls over in front of his house. And, okay, we're going to get interrupted again. Pioshik, Permafrost does come in. He gets into the brush. Dawning Shadow in the kitchen sink thrown at him. And over the wall goes the Yone. And Pioshik will get taken down here. It's Showmaker with his 100% win rate. Yone looking for another victory as she thrown some needles towards Dudu here on this bottom side. As Berserker going to get exhausted. He's a bit tired, but I think we're out of fighting.
I love just the combinations we see on these sums, where it's like, Life has teleport, Beryl just exhausted, because why not? I love Spellbook, man. It's such a silly rune.
I'm so glad that it's back.
That's a really good early objective control here, as Lucid, it doesn't actually have vision. Pioshik reads the play, but just a second too late. The flash doesn't matter, the passive is still stacked, and then right there...
Oh, the underground ulti is the deadliest.
Yeah, even if he didn't actually catch the Poppy, like he's always making it, right? So we'll always have been able to take the kill there. Is that Braum Sejuani combo that is so deadly, as we mentioned, as...
Bulldog is just unable to really do anything because he didn't know.
If there is a thing that would make me at least believe in Showmaker a little bit more, is if his Yone... Like, I know they're playing against DNF. They're currently the 10th place team. They're really struggling. But even in games where it feels like it should be good, I feel like Showmaker's Yone in recent era just hasn't really been it. So, he was the one that started the play. One thing, though, is that we do see that Bulldog has still built up a sizable CS lead, which is why the gold is basically...
Yeah. I feel like there's been a lot of Senna versus Lucian. I feel like it's been the agreed upon matchup. I love lore-based matchups.
It's really funny because I know that some of the players I've heard talk about it say that they feel like a Lucian counters Senna. I think it's like a Lucian and Zeri situation, where like depending on how good you feel you're on either champion, you can argue that it has the benefit. Obviously, Lucian has a much easier time clearing waves in mid-game because he is way safer than the Senna is. Senna obviously has a pretty monstrous scaling advantage. When we get later into the game, did you arrange?
Yep.
And there are setups where I feel like the range advantage doesn't really matter, but when you're paired with Braum, that is a big issue, because a lot of the counterplay for Lucian is just dash in and murder her.
One thing I do like about it though is like the way it rounds out the composition here for DK.
It's amazing.
They have the Yone Gwen, so they already have a fair bit of damage represented on their composition, so you may as well just add some insurance.
It's also those type of compositions off of a single triumph proc you can win a game.
Yep. All right, the public execution here as Xiu does agree to press R alongside Dudu. Stacked up the snip, but otherwise not too much going to happen. So back to my story that I was trying to tell about 20 minutes ago.
Back to the story.
Xiu's about to get potentially solo killed, so I'll hold that thought for a moment. He instead just snips, able to sidestep at least one ability there as he gets out of the way. As the Eclipse was completed. Thanks for pointing that one out, Chronicler.
Yeah.
So back to my story. So what I was
back to the story.
Yeah, what I was trying to talk about was like with the Senna CS thing and the fact that it went from funny to not funny to funny to not funny. The perfect example of that was in Family Guy, where Peter Griffin falls over in his front yard and just like is on the ground going
and then it just
for like actually 4 minutes or something. Like, it's an absurdly long time, and it really just ebbs and flows between funny, not funny. And
so like us.
Yeah, kinda.
That is kind of the LCK hallmark.
And I feel like the way I delivered that story over the last 20 minutes, or at least 10 minutes of gameplay, is probably a good.
Sorry, what story?
Well.
Can you play? Can you tell me again? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Okay, Bulldog gonna get taken down.
No, I'm serious, Atlas. What specific reference?
The one to Family Guy with Peter Griffin.
Can you explain again in depth? I don't.
I can't actually. I'm just not able to do that.
I wanted to do the bit, and we just kept explaining it.
It's not really this. Yeah.
Well, I know it's not good, and we're not doing our job.
It's more Groundhog Day, rather than what I was talking about.
Very disappointed, Atlas. I thought you would never back down from a bit.
All right. Well, I just felt like I didn't want to make the noise again because it felt a little weird, you know?
You're just clutching your knee.
I didn't graze my knee. I didn't graze it, so I'm not a great actor.
This is actually a fun top lane matchup, by the way. We haven't really paid attention to it, but
this version of the Ambessa Gwen is one of the better ones that we've seen, because as we can see, it is very even right now.
Oh, it's a bait.
Oh god. Maybe we cast a curse, even if the curses aren't real. Need to work, going to connect, but not able to do quite enough.
Yes, Flash, and Lucid's on the way, I think. Oh, boy.
Public execution comes in, and as soon as that hit, he was dead. Beautifully played here by DNF as Lucid's coming up. I don't know whether they have too much of an answer, though. As we can see here, Lucid able to get himself out, but he's not going to be killing Pyosik or anything like that. He's just looking to get the wave into a better spot.
Ooh, what a good bait there from Dudu. Nicely done. The flash.
Masterfully done, you could say.
Yeah, ends up being the big difference maker. Pyosik arriving just in time. That is that inexperience there. Xiu falling for it just a little bit too easy.
Yeah.
Pyosik gets the punish. Because Dudu obviously not able to take this 1v1. And Xiu, if he's walking back a little bit earlier, I don't actually think it would have mattered, because look at this right here, just ensuring that he gets the combo, and if he doesn't dash, then Pyosik just, taps his R, and as long as he hits that, he should be easily able. Maybe if Xiu, flashes out instead, but then as soon as you get slammed, really, if Dudu times it well, he should be able to. There's a moment where obviously Gwen can control, and you have a guaranteed hit rate, so maybe keeping the flash there, the right call after all. And it's also Gwen, so I know Ambessa skills well, but I feel like Gwen is just kind of always relevant.
It's amazing. In the teleprompter, we've actually got the Peter